welcome to No Broken Legs Fantasy Focus for Week 3. Jimmy, how are you today?
Man, I'm doing good, brother. We got a pretty beautiful Friday afternoon here in Northeast Ohio to get us ready for football weekend.
Yeah, and we already had the one game in the books. Carolina is 3-0 with Sam Darnold throwing for 300 yards because up is down and the world doesn't make sense apparently. So coming into week 3, we're starting to get an idea of who's going to get touches, who's not going to get touches. As usual, start your stars. Don't hold back. Those are the guys you took at the top. Those are the guys you're going to start. What we're focusing on are the guys sort of on the edges of starting and sitting. And Jimmy, we start this week with the running back position. Who out there is going to surprise some people?
Yeah, I think there are some guys really close. Austin Eckler, I mean, he's really close to an RB1 anyway, but he has an opportunity for a really high ceiling game this week against Kansas City. We've seen Kansas City's been pretty horrible against the run this year, so I imagine the Rams will actually feed Eckler a little bit. And then we get into like those RB2 guys. I talk about it a lot. I love revenge games. I actually think Kenyon Drake could have a big revenge game this week against Miami. Even though I do think Miami's going to win the game, I think Kenyon Drake with Josh Jacobs banged up, Kenyon Drake could have a big game. I don't know if you know this. In the Lions game this past week, Jared Goff, their leading rusher, and hopefully their coaching staff is smart enough to know that was a really big mistake. And they go ahead and give the ball back to DeAndre Swift. Hopefully they learned a mistake. We'll see or not. I think the Cardinals will be in a big positive game script, so I love Chase Edmonds as well.
Yeah, I really like everybody in the Chiefs-Chargers game. That just feels like it's going to be a score fest.
Yeah, I think that's a game where you can get a ton of fantasy value. The only player in that game I don't like is actually Clyde Edwards-Helaire. It does not seem like he's fitting in the offense, and I imagine he's going to get punished early in the game for that fumble against Baltimore. So Edwards-Helaire is the only one in that game I would fade, but everybody else I think you fire him up. And then if you really need some sleepers and some deeper leagues, I like Naheem Hines in Indy, the Javonte Williams, Melvin Gordon committee in Denver as well. And then Tony Pollard and Kareem Hunt are probably both okay flex plays this week.
All right, looking at the wide receiver position, Jimmy, who's out there that we can pick up if we need to find somebody to start?
Well, if you haven't picked him up yet and he's available in your league, Rondeal Moore for the Arizona Cardinals is a great play to make. He's making the routes that Larry Fitzgerald ran last year look really good. If you were able to add him, you might as well play him against the Jaguars. OBJ, he's been available in some leagues. He's sitting on benches. I would say you go ahead and fire him up if you have him on your roster. If he's healthy and active, the Bears corners are bad. With Jarvis out, he's going to get some balls, so I love OBJ there. And I think that's really the only guys who you don't know about yet that you can play. Like, I think a lot of the guys on the waiver wires you're going to see are probably more fades this week. I kind of like Michael Pittman Jr. from Indy if he's still available in your league. Like, whoever plays quarterback, they're going to have to throw the ball somewhere, and he's definitely the best wide receiver they have. If they don't throw the ball to Hines and Taylor, it would probably go to Pittman. So I like Pittman as well if he's still available in any leagues. If you're really desperate, you can pick up Quentin Cephas for the Detroit Lions. I wouldn't want to do it, but if you had to, the Lions are going to be chasing points, so they're going to have to throw the football.
Yeah, and they've also shown the ability to put points on the board when the other team's playing prevent.
Yep, absolutely.
All right, Jimmy, we now shift to the quarterback position. Who looks to surprise this week? Who looks to fade?
I think really the biggest surprise this week is going to be Daniel Jones. If he's on your roster and you don't also have like a Mahomes, Murray, or Jackson, you got to play Daniel Jones this week. He's looked okay this year. He has moved to the offense, and the Falcons have looked horrible. So if there's ever a week to play Daniel Jones, I say play him this week. And then I think Burrow and Trevor Lawrence are both startable if you are streaming QBs or if you drafted quarterbacks late and you have a matchup you don't like. I also like Jimmy G. I think it should probably be a bit of a shootout in San Francisco against Green Bay. And then I like Jared Goff for the garbage time touchdowns late. I don't think there are a ton of fades this week of guys that you would look to start. If you're still trying to start Big Ben, even you Steelers fans got to know you can't play him in fantasy right now. You got to get him out of the lineup. And a guy who's actually performed really well to start the year, Teddy Bridgewater probably needs to make his way back to benches, even in 2 QB leagues, because they're not going to have to throw very much to beat the Jets. And just on a personal note, I wouldn't play Kirk Cousins or Derek Carr this week. I think Derek Carr is in a trap game, and I think Seattle's going to turn the Vikings game into a shootout, and those are the games where Cousins tends to underperform.
Yeah, historically, Russell Wilson has just owned the Vikings and
yes,
Kirk
he
Cousins.
has. Yep, it's kind of crazy.
All right, let's now focus on the tight end position, Jimmy. This is always just I always say that this is a position that I don't want to worry about week to week, so I just spend an early pick on one of the good players. You know, I have Kyle Pitts on one of my teams, and I don't know if he's going to get enough touches to be a regular starter. Who's out there that somebody in a position like I am can go out and find somebody to back him up?
Yeah, it really sucks. Like, Kyle Pitts really should have been cemented already in like the top 5, just talent alone, but Atlanta just looks lost. I know they have some offensive line problems and it's affecting everything else, but I mean, you almost even have to fade Calvin Ridley at this point. You almost have to knock him down to a wide receiver too, and he has all the talent in the world. But man, the thing is, you've got a lot of people that have already added second tight ends to rosters because the position is still as volatile as ever. I do like Dallas Goedert this week. If he happens to be available in the league, you can pick him up. I like Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry. I like Smith more than Henry, but if you had to make a play, you could go there. And then Jared Cook and Noah Fant are also guys who aren't quite touchdown dependent. They should actually get touches. But I also think with the Jarvis injury, this may finally be time to maybe pick up an Austin Hooper, Harrison Bryant, David Njoku, because Baker's going to have to throw the ball to back the Bears up a little bit, and he doesn't have anywhere else to throw it to. So this might finally be a week to play some Browns tight ends.
Yeah, they're getting a ton of looks early. They're really working to get those tight ends involved in the offense, and they're using all 3 of them, so kind of roll the dice there.
Yep.
All right, Jimmy, we normally don't talk about this side of the ball on fantasy, but you wanted to mention it this week. Who do you like on the defensive side of the ball?
So there are a couple defenses that if you have an opportunity, they're probably already picked up in your leagues, but Arizona and Denver for season long or DFS are just an absolute smash spots this week. And a defense that I hate that you could probably pick up and stream this week and grab some interceptions will probably be the Tennessee defense, because Jacob Eason or Brett Hundley are going to start at quarterback and they're going to throw interceptions. So the Titans defense, they're not a good defense by any stretch of the imagination, but they could be in like a just smash spot this week. So I like them as a sneaky good play. The Browns defense, if you've had them on the bench, you could probably get them in the lineup. And then you probably want to fade Washington and Buffalo, both of their defenses this week. I think we need to see Washington's defense perform, and Buffalo is playing, a better offense than they've looked at early this year. So I like fades there, but I do think Tennessee could be like a sneaky good streaming play this week.
Washington really fading overall, and I think we are at the beginning stages of questioning, is Washington as good as we think they are defensively?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, because like as a whole unit, they're underperforming, and then that front 4 was supposed to be absolutely dominant, and they haven't looked like it. Like the individual players haven't popped at all, even as a team, but even the individual one-on-one matchups, their front line isn't winning, and they're not good enough in the back end for the front of the defense to not win. So, yeah, I know like they were one of the first defenses off the board in most leagues, but you may be starting to get into a streaming position where you're just going week by week.
All right, any final thoughts for this week in fantasy, Jimmy?
Not really, not in season long. I think there are just some games where guys that you're not sure about. This would probably be a week like the Tennessee Titans pass catchers. If you spent early draft capital on AJ Brown or Julio Jones, I think you made a mistake. But this is a week you got to start them against Indy because Indy hasn't looked good. And then there are some other teams in that same situation where you just wide receivers are just, it's kind of a volatile position. Like it's almost like if you don't have Cooper Kupp and Tyler Lockett, you don't know for sure that you're getting wide receiver one value right now. But I do think this is a week to again keep playing guys. One guy that I do love at wide receiver, if he is available in your leagues, it rolls into Daniel Jones. I love Kenny Golladay. A lot of people are on Sterling Shepard. I think Golladay is going to play the better game. I think if you can get Kenny Golladay, he should be available in most leagues. Pick him up. He's a great flex option, even a wide receiver 2 value this week. So I do love a Kenny Golladay play this week.
My mind is reeling from the number of options available if you did a daily fantasy league or you just did a bunch of daily fantasy rosters centered around Daniel Jones and Kenny Golladay and then just spent the rest of your money in other places. That just, it seems like it would be very interesting, the stars that you could pair with those two.
Yeah, and you can even because of his injuries, Saquon is even valued pretty low on FanDuel and DraftKings right now. So you're going to see a lot of Daniel Jones, Kenny Golladay, Saquon Barkley stacks that I think are going to make people a lot of money this week. And, on the DFS, Mahomes and Kelsey are probably where you should start your lineup and then fill in from there. If you don't want to do the Chiefs, I also actually love a full Arizona with Kyler Murray, Chase Edmonds, Rondale Moore, and the Arizona D, and then fill in around that. I love that spot too.
The full Arizona.
Yep.
We're christening something that this year, whether it's good or bad, the team will decide.
I love it. I love that. Also, some other spots at DFS, Austin Eckler and Nick Chubb are great starts, and then you should probably get Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods in some lineups as well.
All right. Well, that will wrap us up for Week 3 Fantasy. Jimmy, thank you for joining me.
No place I'd rather be, brother.
And thank you for listening. For Jimmy Champ, I'm Evan Belfiore, and we are No Broken Legs.